Well, Read and Write Kalamazoo, better known as ROCK, partnered with the Kalamazoo Civic to bring you some stories from right here in our community. I'm with Delaney McKenzie from the Kalamazoo Civic and Victoria Marcetti from ROCK, Read and Write Kalamazoo. Thank you so much for talking with me here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Well, this was a really exciting partnership. Tell me a little bit about how it came to be.
Well, we started, our partnership, I guess, started in December when we approached the idea of creating some videos of youth speaking and telling their stories. And we partnered to create, I think it was a 6-week writing workshop where youth got to explore the art of giving a monologue. And we used inspiration from Martin Luther King Jr. and from other folks within the same oratory realm of really capturing the power of one's voice and being able to use that to advocate for change. And then those youth were able to record their own monologues that we shared on Martin Luther King Day. And that was so awesome that we decided that we needed to keep doing some cool stuff together. So when Women's History Month was sneaking up, we started talking about what that might look like and who we could lift stories up about during this time.
And when you have a partnership like this, what is it that jazzes you up, Delaney? Like when you heard about this, what was it that sounded so enticing?
Yeah, well, this isn't something that I would have come up on my own. So being approached by Victoria and Candace from ROCK, looking for, uplifting these, the voices of these local women. Besides one of the women that we interviewed, I had never met any of these ladies before. So it was really interesting hearing their stories. And it was actually supposed to be a much smaller project. We were originally just going to have like one 10-15-minute video that had all of our interviews, just, pick and choose the little bits here and there. And through the interview process, we ended up with, 5 hours of content where it's like, we can't pare these stories down. Everyone's story was so personal. That I wouldn't have heard any of them without ROCK putting this all together. And we just, through a conversation that we sat down and talked about how we could change our initial vision for the piece. And okay, what about a video on each of the women's stories separately, so that we could highlight them all and have them tell everything start to finish that they wanted to share with us in the first place.
What do you think partnerships like this do for Kalamazoo, for a city, a community? It's people.
It's people. That's it. It's creating community. It's doing the things that we're talking to our youth about. Is that it's recognizing that none of us can exist alone. None of us should exist alone. And we have a lot of things that we can share with each other. So the resources that we have at ROCK are things that we can share with other organizations like the Civic. And the Civic has amazing things that they're focusing on and things that they are really good at. And things like Delaney's really good at, like editing and creating these videos for us. So we should definitely be sharing our gifts with each other.
Yes, they're beautiful pieces. They're beautiful pieces. How did you choose the women? Because these are women that have not only changing Kalamazoo, but really making changes in the world.
We started with some suggestions. I mean, obviously, we all have some amazing women that we look up to, whether they're within our community or not, but we put forth some names from ROCK, and our friends at the Civic gave us some suggestions as well. And it was coincidental maybe that some of the suggestions from the Civic were people that ROCK are really excited about and are close to, and we maybe were shy about lifting them up. We got to interview our board chair, Marissa Harrington. And I mean, at ROCK, we know she's amazing. We know that she's doing this fantastic work, but I guess maybe we were shy about lifting her up at first. And our partners at the Civic were like, what about Marissa Harrington? We're like, okay, yeah, all right, we can do that. So that was another thing, like having this partnership and being able to share ideas and build off of each other's ideas and then build off of each other's excitement as well. So it was a joint effort of deciding who we wanted to talk to.
And in hearing their stories, did you notice that the women had anything in common?
I think there were a lot of really common themes that came up. Some of the things that I was really excited about was that these women uplifted themes that we highlight in the work that we're doing with our youth. A lot of our social emotional learning work, we're focusing on identity and belonging and agency as being some of those core tenets of understanding our social emotional existence, and then how to use our emotions. And those were the through lines that I heard from all of them, especially the belonging, that the importance of feeling and knowing that you belong to a community and to a family and to a group of people who understand you and support you and will uplift you. And some of those stories were about the search for that belonging and that feeling, and what it was like to not feel that belonging initially, and then the changes that they experienced once they really felt like they were connected into that. And I think that seeing the words and the ideas that we're talking about in our work culminate in a single person's story, but then several people's stories that we get to hear parallel to each other, and understand that this is a through line through all of our lives, not just the people that we're lifting up as leaders. Belonging is something that we all need.
Who were some of these women? And tell me a little bit about, if you can pick and choose maybe one or two.
Sure. So Marissa Harrington's our board chair here at ROC. We also got to talk to Monica Washington Padula, who is an activist here in Kalamazoo. She was pretty vital to the movement to help Paw Paw find a different mascot. So she was a very big part of that organizing that was years in the making. And most recently, she's done a lot of activism work around supporting unhoused folks in Kalamazoo. And she's also, as you see in the video, she introduces herself in her Indigenous language. So she's been very active in uplifting the history of our Indigenous people of this place of Kalamazoo.
So ROC is kind of more of a youth-oriented program. I'm just curious, why did you choose to kind of put your voice into some of the more adult programs?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are here for youth voice and uplifting youth voice. And we also recognize that part of uplifting youth voice is modeling for them what that means, what it can look like to tell your story, what it can mean to share your history with your community and with the world. And I think for us, it's also knowing that young people are out there seeing these women already. They see them doing the work, but they might not understand that they didn't just pop out the womb ready to do that work, right? Like we all bring so many experiences into who we are right now, that I think it's really important for youth to understand that these amazing people we see doing the work out in our community went through a lot of stuff too, and maybe a lot of the same things that they're experiencing right now, and that there is something that will happen after that, that those experiences that feel like challenges, or maybe even feel like things that you don't think that you'll even remember, could be the most important thing that you're going to be sharing 20 years from now about how you got to the place that you are.
What would you say the importance is of sharing these stories that you've shared, both now and in the future?
I feel like there's so much power behind hearing how different adversity that these women experienced early in their lives, how it changed them and guided them down a path where they're able to help others. That at one point they needed the help of their community, and now they're able to be that help for others. And as a transplant to this area, I did not grow up in the Kalamazoo area. Hearing these local stories has helped me personally feel a little bit more grounded in the community, feel like I know a little bit more about the history of at least these 5 women that I didn't have before. And as this is now my chosen home where I've started to plant roots, it's good to see where local women have come from and where they're going.
stories that are positive, uplifting, inspirational for not only the kids, but as the adults. It's, you can't even put a price on it. It's priceless.
Yeah, I think it was also important for us to focus on uplifting women of the global majority, Black and Indigenous and other women of color, to bridge some of that gap. We've heard a lot of stories, a lot of times, from folks who are similar to each other, and this was an opportunity to push against all of the history that has quieted the stories of women and of Black women and Indigenous women, and women of color in particular. So if we have a platform like we have, we should be uplifting as many people as we can, especially the stories that have been hidden from us.
And you are doing some lasting work. Thank you so much again for talking with me here, Delaney and Victoria.
Thank you.
I'll start off by introducing myself in Anishinaabe. So Ani Boju Kanuya, Monica Indishinakaz, Lansing and Donjaba, Minawa, Kikanamazu, Kalamazoo, Nindan Nongom, Afro Anishinaabe, Saginaw Jibwe and Dao, Makwan Dodem, Chimigwas Chimani Domanda, Mino Bamadasuin, Benal Jisik, Minawa, Indana Wamaganaduk. Hope. So I just introduced myself and our Anishinaabe Moen, which is a combination of the dialects of the Ojibwe, the Bodowademi, and the Odawa people. And that language revitalization, our elders have been teaching us that when we introduce ourselves, we need to introduce ourselves in the language. And so I've been working to practice that as a millennial, and also practicing that to normalize it for the young ones coming up. And also just to speak that energy back into the lands that we've always migrated in here.
My mom, she worked really hard, and one of the things that was a blessing, even in the midst of all that, is she always dared me to dream. Always. Even when, we're packing up our stuff, because we have to move again. She always encouraged me to dream. And so again, though, up until 12, I was still wrestling with a lot of stuff because, I found my thing. At 12, I found my thing. That thing that I needed purpose in, right? That thing that filled my cup. I have that vocabulary now, right? But that's what it was. The theater and the performing and being in that communal space. I always say this of spaces of predominantly people of color, whatever it is, it just feels like a communal space, right? So for me, it was an acting school, but we were also a family.
My name is Yolanda Lavender, and I am the Chief Creative Officer of Soul Artistry. And with that organization, it's an arts consulting company, and we work on providing opportunities for artists, specifically Black artists, artists of color, those from other historically excluded groups, to provide opportunities that they otherwise wouldn't have, to be able to showcase their artistry and be paid for it. I also am a performing artist, a singer and a songwriter with Truth Tone Records, and I work as the Grant Program and Partnerships Director with the Stryker Johnson Foundation.
I definitely experienced, biases, discrimination, racism, but I also found my strength was that regardless of the color that I was, if I did it better than everybody else, then they would respect me. And so I started, I got more involved in cheerleading, and I ended up actually being the drum major, the first black drum major that Fort Riley, Kansas had ever had. And so that was something that, I just looked around my environment, my surroundings, and I was like, I'm gonna do something better than everybody else. And that's gonna it's gonna make my color not even matter.
What I would want people to take away is to, even if you've felt like you haven't belonged, like you don't have a sense of belonging, that there's always a place for you, for them, for people to go. Like, I don't know, I guess that's where I hope that people get from my story, is that there are times in my life where I didn't feel a sense of belonging, where I didn't feel a sense of community, and that it's not a reason to give up, you know? So continuing to pursue things that drive you, that you're passionate about, that you have absolute love for, and despite all the obstacles and all of the barriers that might be in front of you, keep going anyway.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.